Hey, welcome to 604 Seconds, a podcast created by local youth worker voices for local youth workers in the Lower Mainland. Join us for 10 minutes and 4 seconds as we engage in conversation about the continued pursuit of unity in the church, intentional relationship, and student empowerment for real-world discipleship. For more information on upcoming events and even connecting with youth pastors on the third Thursday of the month in one of the city hubs, be sure to visit 604.network.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to 604 Seconds. My name is Jonathan. This is a podcast where we chew on different things going on in youth ministry in the Lower Mainland. Typically, these serve as a discussion launch in our youth pastors hubs here in the 604 network, or if you're listening to it on your own, that's all good too. And today we have Brando from Lander Baptist Church. I'm going to get you to introduce yourself. Before I do, we actually have to start the super official timer because we really hold to this whole 604 seconds shtick. So anyways, tell us about yourself and where your ministry is at.
Yeah. I'm Brando. I work at Lander Baptist Church as the youth director there right now. And the way I got involved in ministry was I went to a camp, had one of those turn on a dime moments in my head. And looking back, I could see certain things that kind of softened my heart to it. But I heard a lady share the gospel and went home feeling just completely different.
Wow.
Right from the get-go, I had this mindset of I need to reach skateboarders. This is like a gift that I have, and I want skateboarders to hear this good news. So
amazing. Because that's the world you were in.
Yeah. And so it was actually a kid that invited me to youth. I was like 19, didn't know anything about youth. I was like, oh, sure, I'll come skate. Didn't know I wasn't supposed to be there and I needed a criminal record check and all that. But so the first time I ever went to youth was 19.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so then you wound up in a church youth group, deeply caring about reaching a certain demographic, and now you're the youth director at Lander Baptist. How has that upbringing shaped the way in which you see that ministry? What does your youth group look like? You know, given your history and how you wound up in the church, how has that shaped the makeup of your youth ministry?
I think part of it is me growing up, but there was already a deep mindset of, hey, we need to reach the lost. I think that's actually why they were willing to have me on so quickly as a volunteer and stuff. Was, this guy actually cares about the lost people. And it was pretty cool that they had that mindset really early. But yeah, we have a youth group, probably 90% from not Christian homes, have really no framework of the Bible or the gospel. And just basics like the Bible wasn't written by one dude and stuff is like mind-blowing to them. So
So let's drill down on this. So you probably have what I would imagine to be a bit of a minority experience where a majority of your youth group are people that have very little frame of reference for the gospel. Let's start with the most beautiful aspects of that. So how does that inform both your own heart, the way you do ministry? I'd love to even know about how does that speak to the Christian kids? What does that do to your church? Like, talk about the beauty of having such a I don't know, outreach-oriented, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, I don't know.
Yeah.
But how does that shape your whole church? What are the beautiful parts of that?
I think part of it, is, we have an outreach mindset. And I think it's good for the Christian kids to experience that as well. Because we've had those kids who grow up, and I've talked about it in our hubs and stuff. Just sometimes we make people feel like they don't have enough knowledge yet to share about their faith, but something we've really tried to push is, hey, no, like you can share your faith with your friends. And so I've loved that aspect of it. And that's not me. That was a mindset that was before my time.
Yeah.
And it was super valuable.
Yeah. How does that desire for mission and the sharing of one's faith, it seems as though if you had a youth group like that, there would be a very obvious kind of, you're all here in this room because of something really specific. Like, there's not a lot of baggage or fluff around why we're here. There isn't. I mean, I'm just guessing, but I would imagine so. Like, my parents didn't tell me to come. I don't have these Bible stories in my back pocket, and there's these deep-seated generational reasons for learning about God.
Right.
Like, you must be there for very few reasons. Like, and what does that afford? Like, that sounds really it sounds really nice, actually, in many ways, as I imagine it in my head.
Yeah, so like, why are the kids there, basically?
Yeah.
I honestly think part of it is small town. Like,
Okay.
Small town, there's not a whole lot to do. We have a decent budget, which definitely helps. So I think a lot of kids are there just to hang out with friends, play ping pong, play Guitar Hero.
Right.
We've just recently resurrected Guitar Hero. And
wow, that's a throwback.
this is the generation that's never played it, by the way. So it's like the newest, hottest game. So I think a lot of them are just there for that. And I think they keep coming back because they actually feel loved.
Oh, wow.
And appreciated. And I think they see something different in our leaders and our leadership. We have a great leadership team. We have a lot of leaders who love Jesus, our mission is share the good news of Jesus. And I think our leaders do that really well.
Cool.
And, yeah.
Well, what would you say are the biggest challenges of having a youth group of that makeup?
For sure. One of the biggest challenges, one of the blessings is they don't, like you said, don't come with all the baggage, maybe church hurt and stuff like that. And it's all really new. But part of that is it's new. And so this is weird. So they see beauty of grace and stuff. And we've talked about cancel culture and how the gospel speaks into cancel culture so well. And I think they see the beauty of the gospel. And then it's just this thing that's so foreign that I think it takes a lot for them to be willing to step into it.
Yeah, I would imagine. So you've got, it's almost as though you have a long road ahead of you. But part of the challenge, I'm sure, is the newness of it. But do you see the newness of it being an advantage in any way? Like, oh,
for sure.
Yeah, like describe that.
Yeah, well, we can share the good news of Jesus and it be good news rather than having to like almost like work through the Galatian problem where it's like they're so attached to the law that it's like they're having a hard time seeing the good news of Jesus through the law that has just been ingrained in them. So and sometimes we could be so ingrained with Bible stories or whatever that we actually miss Jesus. It's just another Bible story.
Wow.
And
that's fantastic. Okay, so a bunch of youth pastors listening to this may have non-Christians attending the youth group, maybe not. How would you encourage them to pursue the messiness of what you're talking about? Okay, well, A, would you encourage them to? And then B, like, why? How does this help in the discipleship of all of their students? Like, what is this messy journey for you taught you, maybe, or what has it taught your students? Like, encourage youth pastors towards this mindset, the uncomfortability of this, if you can.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's all our vision to see the lost reached. I think it's actually a really important part of discipleship with kids to say, hey, like, yeah, you don't know absolutely everything. Neither do I. But this is good news. Generally, the gospel is pretty easy to teach people. And yeah, let's see this just become a different pandemic through our schools. Yeah. a better pandemic.
Yeah, I love the simplicity. This is what I've known about you, and it sounds like it's true about your youth ministry too, is there's a real genuine simplicity to the message of the good news and who it's for. And there seems to be a real decomplication, if that's a word, of what it's all about. And I can imagine that there's some serious hardships attached to reaching certain demographics, but then also this clarity of the simplicity of the gospel that I think the people that don't know Jesus from a hole in the wall really get to teach us. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and that's like been something super close to my heart because a few years ago, it just kind of like the gospel hit me fresh for the first time again. Not the first time, but like it was the first time again. And I just never want to lose that feeling of, man, this is good news for me. Yes, those who've been forgiven much love much. Yeah. And I think that's so true. And I think it first starts in our hearts. We need to believe, man, this actually is good news. Romans 1, the gospel, the power of salvation. Like, yes, this actually can bring people to salvation, this good news of Jesus. And it's also the foundation for if you want to go deeper, you want to talk about walking out the faith. The gospel still has to be the foundation.
So good. Okay, well, we got 1 minute.
Okay.
You've lived in this like church and parachurch world. You've blended those two things. We don't have time to go into the details of it, but can you give youth pastors who are listening one encouragement or helpful word that would say, here's how to bridge these worlds? Like, what if maybe about your own heart, maybe not so much functionally, sorry to put you on the spot, but like, what about your heart allows those tensions to be held inside your youth ministry?
Right. I think one was just coming to the realization I can't reach every single kid.
Okay.
You train leaders and then trust them that they can actually lead kids. And we're going to mess up and things will get messy. And yeah, just keep trusting the good news of Jesus. And
yeah.
Well,
I really appreciate the simplicity of that message, Brando. And I think sometimes we can get really confused and lost in like ministry culture. But I think that you've reminded us that there's something so helpful about believing that the good news is good news to students. And I know for me that sometimes when there's like the complexity of Christian culture can really have us go, how do we help the good news be good news, and how do we see that be possible? So really thank you for your legacy, and you've been a pioneer in really the whole network of keeping that strategic outlook towards those that have never heard, and so I feel grateful for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks for being here, and I hope that discussion was helpful, and enjoy discussing it in your hubs.